Are we witnessing a new golden age of gaming, or are we blindly marching toward its downfall? Unreal Engine 5 has swept across the industry like a tidal wave. Game devs sing its praises for easy scalability, publishers celebrate its robust marketing potential, and players admire the cinematic visuals it can produce. But behind this wave lies an undertow of critical questions. Are we sacrificing too much creativity and performance just to chase photorealistic perfection? Is this engine so beloved by studios quietly reshaping our expectations and pushing gaming into a restrictive mold? Let's dive into the whirlwind of controversies, illusions, and hidden consequences surrounding Unreal Engine 5, some of which may completely change how you see your favorite games. Welcome to Gamers Service Announcement, GSA. The more you know. Click that subscribe button and hit on the alert button to get notified about new videos for you. It's almost impossible to browse gaming news without stumbling across the letters UE5. Once upon a time, Epic Games was an underdog with dreams of making game development more accessible. Over the years, they refined their tools and built an engine so adaptable, studios large and small flocked to it. From modest indie releases to blockbuster AAA franchises, everyone raced to adopt the Unreal Engine. In the last few years alone, we saw a staggering wave of famous developers jump on board. CD Projekt Red decided to drop their own Red Engine in favor of UE5 for the next Witcher title, leaving fans stunned since their proprietary tech once gave us that jaw-dropping world of Cyberpunk 2077. Hangar 13 is rumored to be using Unreal Engine for the new Mafia installment. 343 Industries, rebranded as the Halo Studio, pivoted to Unreal after dedicating years to an internal engine built specifically for the Halo franchise. BioWare left behind Frostbite to embrace Unreal in hopes of reviving the magic for the next Mass Effect. Even the creators of Tomb Raider announced they're done with their own engine and are now full steam ahead with UE5. At first glance, it's a love affair that's understandable. UE5 promises quicker workflows, robust tool sets, impressive lighting solutions, and widespread support. But the honeymoon phase doesn't last forever. After all, these switches often come at a price, from shifting entire development pipelines to dealing with unique coding constraints. But that's only half the story, because behind the hype, many players and industry insiders are asking the same question. At what point does convenience become complacency? Behind every shiny new gaming engine is a pack of hidden bills that someone eventually has to pay. Most of the time, it's us, the people who play and support these games. UE5's advanced capabilities mean studios can push out hyper-detailed models, larger-than-life open worlds, and next-level lighting effects. But all that top-tier detail demands equally top-tier hardware. If you're not prepared to drop cash on frequent GPU or CPU upgrades, you're stuck with mediocre performance at best, or even unplayable stuttering at worst. The launch day woes of many recent Unreal Engine projects have left a bitter taste among gamers who pre-order or buy on release. Oversized textures, unoptimized lighting systems, and assets that push hardware past its limit are becoming a nasty tradition. By the time patches arrive to smooth out frame rates, the hype might already have peaked, and folks have moved on or lost faith. Even if you have a powerful rig, there's no guarantee of a smooth ride. We've witnessed how a beautiful screenshot can sell you on a game, but the actual experience can be riddled with frame drops and bizarre bugs. It makes you wonder, are we paying a premium for technology that developers themselves haven't truly mastered yet? Yet there's another layer to the puzzle that most people don't see, one where the control isn't just about performance, but about the very content inside the games. Whenever a single company becomes as powerful as Epic Games has in the realm of engine development, whispers about censorship and policy enforcement follow. The rumor mill claims that using the Unreal Engine can involve abiding by Epic's broader guidelines, some of which may trickle into how studios code and potentially what kind of content is deemed permissible. Over the years, there have been discussions regarding the recommended changes to language and code. Terms like master, slave, or even whitelist and blacklist were supposedly on the chopping block for being problematic. Outside of code, there are also swirling speculations that Epic's terms let them shut off licenses if a developer's project violates certain policies. The degree to which these guidelines truly impact day-to-day game development remains hotly debated. Officially, Epic says they aim to foster inclusive language and ethical behavior in gaming. Yet some dev teams fear the possibility of a bigger, more controlling hand behind the scenes. One day, you might be implementing a storyline or NPC behavior that brushes against a new rule you didn't even know existed. And ironically, you could be locked out of the very engine you used to build your game. But technical limits and corporate oversight aren't the only worries. Because what if the engine's popularity itself is draining away the life force of creativity? Have you ever started a new game, and within minutes you just know it runs on Unreal Engine? Maybe due to the shiny, reflective surfaces, or that uncanny real but not quite appearance. The so-called Unreal look has become something of a trope. It isn't necessarily the engine's fault, but rather a byproduct of studios defaulting to the same ready-made assets and lighting pipelines. Developers often choose the path of least resistance. If UE5 already has a certain photorealistic approach baked in, why put extra effort into forging a bold, stylized art direction? That's how we end up with half the new releases all sporting a similar polish. Fine for marketing screenshots, less fine if you crave fresh and innovative aesthetics. Compare that to the likes of Sea of Thieves, which chose a cartoonish style brimming with personality, or older examples like Borderlands with its graphic novel vibe. Those games prove Unreal can power wildly unique visuals. So what happened? For many teams, time and budgets are real constraints. Spending precious months on custom visual design might get overshadowed by the need to meet tight schedules, so they rely on those pre-baked Unreal systems. And the chase for hyper-realistic visuals leads us to another pressing concern: whether all that resource-intensive eye candy is really worth it. 10 years ago, breathtaking graphics could single-handedly set a new release apart. People would gasp in awe at innovative textures or revolutionary lighting. But today, we've reached a plateau where gaming visuals are already convincingly beautiful. Sure, adding more polygons can refine a character's facial expressions or make grass sway more naturally in the wind. But the difference is often subtle, and it comes at a huge performance cost. What's more, some of the most memorable standout games in recent years went with stylized or minimalist approaches. Think The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Hades, or Cuphead. Their artistry resonates deeply with gamers, proving you don't need real-world mimicry to evoke emotion or immerse players in a universe. Meanwhile, AAA studios funnel enormous budgets into achieving the next level of realism, only to discover that the human eye isn't as easily impressed these days. That's a big reason why a game from 2013 can still feel visually comparable to one from 2023 if developers focus on thoughtful design instead of raw horsepower. Still, there's a bigger issue beneath the surface of this shiny polish, because even when devs manage decent frame rates, many of these Unreal games share something else in common: that odd sense of clunkiness. One of the strangest phenomena reported by longtime gamers is the UE stiffness, a subtle, hard-to-pinpoint sluggishness in movement or combat that creeps into certain Unreal Engine projects. It's not always universal, but it happens enough that fans take notice. Titles like Stalker 2, Remnant 2, and even smaller shooters sometimes provoke the same feedback. Feels a bit clunky, kinda slow. So why is that? Some suspect the netcode or physics interactions baked into the engine might not perfectly match the fluidity certain studios want. In other cases, it's the developers themselves who aren't fully customizing engine features, so movements default to standard, one-size-fits-all code that doesn't deliver the crispness you'd get from a truly bespoke engine. The bigger picture? Many teams adopt UE5 hoping it's an automatic upgrade, but an engine, any engine, is ultimately just a toolbox. It's the craftsmanship of the devs that determines whether we get a polished final product or a hot mess of stutters and half-baked ideas. When illusion meets reality, the result can be jarring. But how does this affect gaming's future? Let's take a glimpse down the road ahead. If the industry continues on its current path, we may see an even more consolidated field where nearly every major title, and an increasing number of smaller ones, rely on Unreal Engine. Some players hail this as the ultimate convenience, a universal foundation that's stable, well-documented, and easy to learn. But the flip side of that coin is a potential drought in variety, both visually and in gameplay feel. The creative risk-taking we saw in earlier gaming generations might fade in favor of a formulaic approach. Newcomers to game development might never learn to craft engines from scratch, so they lose out on the understanding that fosters unique and bizarre mechanics. Instead, they'll follow well-trodden Unreal tutorials, produce more of the same, and ride the wave of pre-existing assets. Meanwhile, topics like censorship remain concerning. If Epic or any single corporation holds the power to revoke a license, entire projects could face oblivion. That might drive developers to self-censor or shy away from daring narrative angles, ultimately curbing the medium's artistic potential. Still, there's no question that Unreal Engine 5 also creates breathtaking possibilities. Better lighting, improved physics, and advanced AI systems can support truly astonishing worlds if harnessed thoughtfully. It just requires a clear vision from studios that doesn't rely on the engine's default glitz as a crutch. So here we stand, awestruck by the cinematic wonders Unreal Engine 5 can generate, yet wary of the hidden pitfalls that might unravel the games we love. Are we careening toward a sterile future where every release sports the same photorealistic veneer? Or can developers push UE5 beyond its comfort zone to craft truly innovative experiences? Will Epic's influence extend to subtle creative control over game content, or are these rumors overblown? Maybe the answers lie somewhere in the murky middle. Studios still have the power to shape their own destiny. They can choose whether to lazily rely on cookie-cutter features or push the engine to places no one has ever seen. But if they chase a quick paycheck, shell out minimal effort, and bank on the engine's brand name to do all the heavy lifting, it could backfire, driving dedicated fans away from titles that feel half-baked. At the end of the day, our beloved hobby is built on dreams and imagination, not just polygons and performance metrics. If Unreal Engine 5 nurtures those dreams in all their forms, be they stylized, gritty, playful, or shocking, then maybe it truly does push gaming forward. But if it becomes a one-size-fits-all crutch, an assembly line for clones, or a means of controlling what creators can make, we risk losing the very spark that made games special. So the next time you see that flashy UE5 logo, remember, a tool is only as good as the hands that wield it. Ask yourself whether the engine is forging something genuinely fresh, or if we're just getting the same old game with a shinier, more expensive coat of paint. Because the future of gaming isn't just about how games look, it's about what they have to say, how they play, and whether they still surprise us. If you like this, be sure to subscribe and hit the alert button for more awesome videos. Gamers Service Announcement: the more you know.